Hey, what's up, guys? Brian Barrera here, CEO for LC Innovation, here to talk to you about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. As you guys know, if you've been following my channel, my videos, I'm a huge Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Dodgers fan, and I'm a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. Growing up in the 90s, there wasn't an LA team when I started liking football in the mid to late 90s. There was like four choices that I had: the San Francisco 49ers, because I was a big Steve Young and Jerry Rice fan. There was also the Baltimore Ravens that I really liked their colors. They had purple too, which I'm a big Laker fan, so I like the purple. And then there was the New Orleans Saints because I've always wanted to go to New Orleans. So there was the Saints, and I ended up choosing the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars weren't even on my list. And I remember my brother was like, "Hey, Brian, the Jags got really cool colors, man. And I know you like Jimmy Smith because Jimmy Smith was one of my favorite players. I know you like Mark Brunell. Mark Brunell was awesome. Keenan McCardell, some defensive players that they had. I mean, they had some really, really cool players. And I remember they were beating some pretty tough teams in the mid '90s and late '90s. A few wins against the Broncos in the playoffs. Not a few wins, but against the Broncos. But they had a win against the Broncos in the playoffs. And I solidified my stance when they beat the Dolphins, I think 62 or 63-7. That's when I became a big Jacksonville Jaguar fan. I was like, you know what? That's it, man. I'm joining the Jags. They're a cool new team. They got cool colors. Florida sounds like a cool place to go visit. So I was like, I'm gonna be a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. So I became a Jaguar fan. Um, I wasn't the biggest David Garrard fan, though. I like David Garrard. I wasn't the biggest fan. I knew he wasn't going to take us to the Super Bowl. Blake Bortles, same thing. He just didn't have that tight spiral. Great vision, though. Great instincts to run. Had a lot of fun watching Blake Bortles play, but I kind of knew he wasn't going to take us to the Super Bowl. And then we had, a lot of players in between: Byron Leftwich, Quinn Gray, a lot of players in between, right? Nick Foles. I knew Nick Foles wasn't going to do that much, even though he took the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But when the Jags got Trevor Lawrence, man, I was hooked. I was like, this dude, he's got it. He's got the arm, he's got the height, he's got the size, he's got the vision, he's got the speed. The guy's 6'6", man. Cannon, super, super cannon. But every year you watch him play, and I understand it's disappointing, but at the same time, you got to understand what you're seeing, right? You're seeing a young player. He's only 26 years old, right? And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, he's 26 years old. That's old enough to hit your prime. Well, that's what you're seeing today. You're seeing him hit his prime. But you see the stuff he's been through. The Urban Meyer debacle, that was a tough stretch. We all thought Doug Peterson was an awesome coach, and he is. He's a great coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. But the problem is with Doug Peterson, it's like I said, it seems like the things that got him out of Philly got him out of Jacksonville. He started off really, really fast in Jacksonville, really, really good with Trevor Lawrence, and it just seems like he started, giving the plays to Press Taylor a lot more. Someone commented in one of my Twitter responses recently, saying that one of the passing game coordinators in 2022 wasn't with the Jags in 2023 and 2024. I forgot what his name was, but he gave him credit. And I forgot. And again, I forgot the name. But, when you have a young player, you can't just keep switching up on that player. You can't. You can't just keep giving them a new offensive system every year. You got to stick to one path and you got to solidify that path. And I thought the Jaguars were doing that with Doug Peterson. But like I said, they became more of a system. Instead of building your team around the player, it seems like they started building their team around a system. And if you look at my videos, you go to my YouTube channel, you like, subscribe, beat me up, whatever. If you look at it, you see that I talk about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, how Andy Reid has built a team around Patrick Mahomes, how Bill Belichick built a team around Tom Brady. All these things are all strategies. It's all strategy. And I'm going to get to business at the end of this video, but it's all strategic. In college football and college sports in general, you build systems, and the coaches that have built the best systems become very successful. But when you make it to the pros, it's different. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of ascending players, descending players. There's a lot of just talent overall, a lot of egos, a lot of egos, right? But that's the main thing about the NBA, NFL, MLB, Major League Soccer, NHL. When you have that much talent, though, that many egos, it really starts to become less reliant on a system and more on who's still left. If you have a rash of injuries, you can't keep running the same system. That's why you shouldn't build in the NFL or any major league sport. You shouldn't build your team around a system. It should be based around those players because as some of those players get hurt, you have to start building around the players that are still healthy. And you're probably thinking, like, this doesn't make any sense. Where are you going with this? Well, where I'm going with this is that's why you build a team around your players. And some people can say, like, well, what if your players get hurt? Yeah, what if your players do get hurt? Then you got to get a coach who's willing to adapt, to strategize again on how to adapt or pivot or whatever. Look at Mike Tomlin. Every year, Mike Tomlin has a new quarterback, and every year they're still winning. They were winning last year. They had a winning record last year, have a winning record this year. Aaron Rodgers is not nearly as close to his prime self that he was before, but he's playing pretty damn good football right now. They just beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit. So they're playing pretty good right now. But that's what I'm saying. You build around the talents of your players, not the system. And I think that's where Doug Peterson really started to fail, is that he started trusting his coaches a little too much. And instead of, firing some of them or just replacing some of them, demoting some of them even, no, he stuck to his guns and he said, this is the way we're going to go. And I think that's what really hurt him in Jacksonville ultimately, is that he really paid it. He really let Press Taylor continue the whole run first, let the game open from that. Sometimes you got to pass first and let the game open. Look at what Trevor Lawrence has done these last 4 weeks. I think he has 0 turnovers and 14 touchdowns these last 4 weeks, 14 pass and rushing touchdowns combined. But if you notice, the ball's going through Trevor. Whether he's passing a touchdown pass to Travis Etienne, which he's done, I think, 4 in the last few weeks. 4 touchdown passes to his running back. One of them was to Bashul Tutin, who's hurt now, but he passed him. He gave him a touchdown last week as well. And I'm going back to them beating the Chargers, right? They whooped on the Chargers. Chargers are a big playoff team. They're 11-4, I believe. But if you look at these players, if you look at these teams they're playing, yeah, the Jets were easy. Yeah, they played a few easy teams, but they've beaten some hard teams this year. They beat the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. They beat the Houston Texans. They should have beat the Houston Texans twice, but they took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter and they let them come back. They were whooping on the Texans for 3 quarters. And then they were beating the Bengals. They had a great game plan against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow goes down, and then they put the backup in there. They lost to the backup. But, they've lost some games that they should have won, but it's all putting the pieces together. Now, a lot of you were doubting Trevor Lawrence like crazy. A lot of you that are diehard Jaguar fans were like, dude, maybe this guy ain't it. But look what happened. This is why you stick to your plan. You stick to it. They stuck to, if you look at the wide receivers that Trevor Lawrence has, Brian Thomas Jr., a Rookie of the Year candidate last year, he had a great first year. Now we're seeing as defenses start to kind of zero in on the star players, you start to see who they really are. Brian Thomas Jr. is an incredible talent. I think he's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL year over year. But you're seeing what his skill set is. He's a streamer. He likes to fade routes. He doesn't like going up the middle. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like those cross slants. He likes going out or fade outs. And he's so damn good at it, right? He's so good at it. And you saw that the Denver defense was kind of watching him closely, and Jacoby Myers. But look at what Trevor did. He spread the ball around to other players. That's what you've seen. Tim Patrick touchdowns. You've seen tight end Brenton Strange 2 weeks in a row now with touchdowns. You saw last week and the week before, BTJ, Bryant got a couple touchdowns. You saw Jacoby Myers become his go-to target. Now you look at Denver's amazing defense. A lot of analysts are saying, oh man, their defense is probably not as good as we thought it was. It is as good as you thought it was. But Trevor and Liam have just built something incredible that's above anything we thought it was, right? So now they zero in on Jacoby Myers. They zero in on BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr. Parker Washington goes off. Brenton Strange had another touchdown. Etienne has a great game. He spread the football around. And that's why I'm kind of scared of the Rams. We'll get into another conversation, but so I'm kind of scared of the Rams. Stafford's really zeroing in on Puka Nacua. Puka's a great talent. But what happens when they start playing some of these great teams and they start zeroing in on Puka? Can Matt run it? Can Matt spread the ball around? And with these great defenses, Stafford's going to have to run a little bit. He's going to have to scramble a little bit. But anyways, we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. But that's what I'm talking about. And you can't just give up on a player because he's having a few bad weeks. If your franchise has invested that much money into this guy because they see the talent, you got to keep going. You can't just stop. And yeah, there comes a certain point where you have to cut the bleeding, right? When you got to stop it. I get it. I understand that. You can't cut bleeding, sorry, but just stop the bleeding. Live and uncut. I don't edit my videos because I want to make mistakes. I want you to see the mistakes that I make to know that I'm human, and everybody makes errors. But anyways, cut the bleeding, right? Stop the bleeding. So Trevor, that's what it was. Trevor's such an amazing, amazing talent, amazing quarterback. We've seen glimpses of it. If you take a step back and look at what he's done, it's his third winning season in 5 years. They didn't have a winning season last year because he was hurt half the year. But man, they probably would have won. Maybe they would have went 9-8 last year. Again, and 2022, 2023, they went 9-8. Trevor would beat the Chargers in the playoffs in his second year in the NFL. And like I said, I think that Doug Peterson, instead of adapting and adjusting and pivoting, he kind of put his heels in the ground and he said, no, Press Taylor's a guy. He's the next one up. So in a sense, what Doug Peterson did by trusting his manager or trusting his offensive coordinator, that's what great leaders do. They trust their team and they don't throw them under the bus. Unfortunately, though, that system no longer fit with Trevor Lawrence and they went with Liam Cohen. But look at what Liam's doing with Trevor. It's so obvious he has made this offense and he does adjustments in the game based on what Trevor can do. And if you look at the beginning of the Broncos, they were talking so much trash. The social media was talking so much trash. They're like, look how they're getting to Trevor. Trevor's playing horrible. His first two possessions, they were terrible. And look what happened. He adjusted and he let the game come to him and he just tore it up. And the reason why I bring up the whole system is Peterson and Press Taylor were very stuck on this is the way we're going to play. We're going to run the football and it's going to open up the game. ATN's having a great season. Tootin's has a few touchdowns. LaQuint Allen is one of the best blocking third down backs in the NFL. Trevor is all over the red zone, all over it. 5 touchdowns last week, 4 this week, 3 passing touchdowns this week, and 1 running touchdown. Last week, 5 touchdowns, 1 running touchdown rushing, and 4 passing touchdowns. His fingerprints is all over this game. His fingerprints is all over this offense. And Liam is adjusting based on Trevor's skill set. That's the main thing, and that's what we're seeing. A lot of people are talking about Jaguars are playing great football, but they have unleashed this crazy, crazy talented running quarterback. I think Trevor Lawrence, I might be jumping on the bandwagon, but there's reason to jump on the bandwagon. When do you see a quarterback perform this great against the top defense in the NFL, against one of the best teams in the NFL, top 3 teams in the NFL, number 1 in the AFC, and Jacksonville just went to the Mile High City and they clobbered them. They completely annihilated the Broncos. Yeah, 34-20, but 34 against Denver in Mile High. That was a great performance. I don't think Trevor's MVP. I think it's a little too late. And then they're going to play the Titans and a hurt Colts right now the next week. Even if they win both games, I don't think Trevor's going to win the MVP. But if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, be excited. It looks like they've unleashed Trevor. Hopefully Trevor or Liam don't go anywhere next year, barring any injuries also too to the other key players. But look at who Trevor's thrown it to also. BTJ, second year. Parker Washington, second year. Travis Hunter, who's hurt now, was a rookie. Brenton Strange, I think it's his second or third year. Then they get Jacoby Myers, who nobody was saying was one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. He's looking like a top wide receiver now, and he just got a 3-year extension worth $60 million. Telling you guys, this is awesome, awesome stuff that we're seeing. Trevor has really, really lived up to the hype. That's why I want to show you guys this screen. Trevor's living up to the hype. If you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, be excited for this year, next year. If you, barring any injuries, he's going to be here for a long time for the next 10, 12 years. And if you're an NFL fan and if you don't take the Jaguars seriously, I'm telling you right now, man, I'm a huge Jacksonville Jaguar fan. I've always known, like I said in the beginning, with the David Garrards, the Quinn Grays, the Byron Leftwich, the Blake Bortles, I always knew we're like, okay, we could be a decent team, but we're not going to make it because of the quarterback. It's different this year. This year, if we do make the Super Bowl or at least go deep in the playoffs, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are really serious, and it's because Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is that guy that could finally take us there. He is. Glad he's getting recognition. If he can pull this off all next year, he could be an MVP candidate. But right now, I'm seeing the Jaguars going deep into the playoffs, and they're going to be playing some teams that they've had some success with over the last 10 years when they make the playoffs every 5 years, right? But yeah, that's it, guys. It was a great week for the Jaguars. Great to see Trevor Lawrence do this stuff. And I don't think we're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think Trevor's going to win MVP. I think they can make the Super Bowl, but I think the Rams or the Seahawks are going to take it, man. They look like solid football teams who know who they are, and they've been doing it all season. So, but remember, the NFL is all about defense, and whoever's hot at the end usually comes in and takes it. So, Jags got a good chance, man. Glad to see Trevor Lawrence is tearing it up, and he's living up to the hype. And that right there is in business. I always end this with business. That right there is why you don't give up on your employees. When you hire employees, when you believe in your employees, when you invest into your employees. Sorry, if you first time watch one of my videos, I always end it with a business analogy or a business example. And that's why you don't give up. If you see the talent, if you believe in it and you don't give up on it, sometimes it just takes one little tweak to unleash the potential of that one employee. And it feels so great when that happens. Feels so, and two things happen from there. Number one, they look at you like you never gave up on them. And number two, loyalty comes from that too. Then after that, you got to keep taking care of them. And that's what we got to see with Jackson.